Hello and welcome to the Snickerdoodle Knits YouTube channel. I am Jessica, the knitter and designer behind Snickerdoodle Knits. In this video, I am going to be talking all about this wrap that I designed for Tippy Yarns for the Audrey Hepburn Shawl Advent MKAL. So it's a mystery knit along that Tippy Yarns provided with their Advent set. So the kit used 4 colors. Each of the 4 colors were 50 grams. And then I was asked to design a rectangular shawl. And then of course, because of the yarn requirements, I like to call it more of a wrap, because I think it works a little bit better, more styled like as a shawl, because it's a long, narrow rectangle. So yes, this is Tippy Yarns yarn, and all of the colorways are themed off of Audrey Hepburn. So there's like Audrey Glam, and just each of the colorways are named after Audrey Hepburn. I don't know if that's the yarns that she'll have available in the future or not. But the theme is basically that these colors are worked in strips, kind of alternated into a sort of fade between the 4 colors. But of course, because it was a mystery knit along and it was released in 4 sections, I wanted to try to keep the clues to the closest amount of knitting as possible per clue. So that's why there's not like small stripes or anything. So like first clue was just this first pink section here. The second clue went up until the gray here. So from this first white stripe to the gray. And the third clue went to the blue here. And then the rest was the 4th. So they did get increasingly larger during the MKAL, just because of needing to open the next yarn before continuing to the next section. And then within each color sort of repeat, so like this is basically the pink section, and then there's like the white spans the longest because it goes through the whole middle, and then the gray also spans a large distance because it's also one of the middle colors, and then the blue is sort of just on the end. So each of those sections, it alternates between 3 different stitch motifs. There's the feather and fan lace, which divides every section. And then between feather and fan sections, there is one other kind of lace. So there is the herringbone lace here, and then fern lace is like this sort of zigzaggy lace. The whole wrap is worked flat, so you start cast on this end and just work flat to the end, and then the whole thing is just repeats, really. So once you've worked some feather and fan, once you've worked some herringbone lace, and once you've worked some fern lace, you've used all of the techniques that you'll be using within the pattern. So that point is right here, which would be where clue 3 started. And then after that, it's just repeating those sections. And so design-wise, most sections I basically split it into thirds, and so then one color would be 2/3 and the other color would be 1/3. And at the beginning, these are both the complete 3/3 of this section. I don't know if that makes any sense, but and then there are a few sections where I used where I had 4 colors, and so then I had 1 extra section in there. So I guess really what I'm trying to say is that's a whole lot of repeats. Repeats of colors, repeats of a stitch motif amongst different colors, and then of course repeats of the same 3 stitches throughout the whole little shawl. The techniques are, let's say, adventurous beginner. There are like SSKs and yarn overs, knitting stitches together, different techniques like that. But like with all of my patterns, I do have video tutorials linked within the pattern, so that you can reference those if you have any questions on how to perform any of the techniques. And then of course, any 4 50-gram fingering weight skeins of yarn would work, and actually it would be fairly simple to adjust if you want it shorter or longer, and use more or less yarn, since it is those repeats of feather and fan, herringbone, feather and fan, fern, and then it starts over feather and fan, herringbone, feather and fan, fern. So it would be quite simple to adjust that if you want to use more or less yarn. I also had some test knitters that chose to use like 2 colors instead of 4 or 3 colors. So you can definitely play with your color palette there. Of course, you could easily do more colors as well, like if you use 20-gram mini skeins or something like that. And then of course it's just fingering weight yarn. So in the pattern, I have linked to a blog post that has yarn recommendations and alternative yarn suggestions. So the first half of that blog post is all like Tippy tree yarns that in fingering weight that I think would work well with these stitch motifs. And then the second half is alternative yarn recommendations. So it's just basically just fingering weight yarns that I also think would work well for the design. You don't want anything too fuzzy or really busy, just because these lace sections really kind of want to speak for themselves. They want to be the star of the show. So if you really want to see those lace sections, they need to have their space. So I wouldn't do like mohair. I wouldn't do anything that's highly speckled or highly variegated. I wouldn't do anything super bright, but you can see like with the blue, there's some variation in that color, and it still works really well for the pattern. So that blog post, yes, it has color suggestions from Tippy Tree Yarns, and then it also has alternative yarn recommendations. Those are primarily more affordable yarns from big box stores like Michael's or Webb's or Knit Picks or something like that. This is only available as one size. All of the information is provided on each of the pattern pages, the dimensions for your finished object. But like I mentioned, it would be easy to lengthen. So you can lengthen it or shorten it because it's worked flat. It's just really easy to adjust the length of it. I can't remember what the math is, if it would be difficult to widen. I might include instructions in the pattern on how to widen it. I don't remember. Maybe I'll go ahead and check. No, I do not include instructions. But if you wanted to make it wider, feel free to reach out to me and ask for those instructions, and I can figure out the math and let you know. So overall, I think it's a really fun knit. I love working feather and fan, and then the other lace sections are relatively simple. It does require some concentration, of course, just getting all your decreases and increases in the right spot. But it's a fun, lightweight wrap that, of course, you can wear a bit like a wrap. Whoops. Just like imagine, Audrey Hepburn just like wearing it over her shoulders, all elegant with a a ball gown or something. Of course you could tie it or something if you wanted to somehow. And then I primarily, sorry, my hair's everywhere. I primarily wear more like a shawl. So you can do doubled up and then just pull the ends through the loop, kind of like that. Or, and then, you know, sometimes like bring up the knot up farther, however you want to do that. Or you could do just single, you could do one loop, or you can do 2 loops for a bit cozier feel. And if you're wearing it like with the winter jacket or something, you can just tie up the ends a little bit, and it's real cozy and warm that way. So there's a lot of options for how you choose to wear it. If you want to wear it cozier, if you want to wear it lighter, of course it's fingering weight, so it's not super heavy or bulky, but when you layer it up, it gives a little bit more cozy feel to it. Trying to remember, I might have had other styling ideas. That I'm not recalling now, but you can find, of course, pictures on all the pattern pages and in the pattern itself. So as far as what I'm referring to when I say pattern pages, that's information pages on the pattern that are on my website and any of the locations where you purchase the pattern. So that's Ravelry, Payhip, and LoveCrafts right now. So if you're interested in purchasing the pattern, or if you want any more information on it, I have a link down in the description that will take you to the pattern page on my website. So on my website, there's this page that has all the information on the pattern, has like yarn requirements, sizing information, has the link to that blog post with the yarn suggestions, color recommendations, and it has information like on the knitting techniques that are used in the pattern, talks about the design inspiration, all of that stuff. Plus it has all of the links to all the places that you can purchase the pattern. So like I mentioned, that is Ravelry, LoveCrafts, and Payhip right now, but of course if anything changes, that page will be updated. So all you have to do is click that link in the description down below and you'll find all of the other information on the wrap. So it was a really fun experience to design my first Advent wrap, Advent design in general, and it was really fun to watch the knitters open each of the yarns and knit the clues and everything like that. So that was a lot of fun, and I hope, even though now of course you will receive the full pattern when you purchase it, I hope you have just as much fun knitting it. It's really a fun, engaging knit. I won't call it a mindless knit, but it is fun and engaging, and I love that it's just quick sections, and of course when it's knit flat and it's just short, it's easy to just knit a couple of rows and come back to it. You're not stuck in the middle of a big round, which is really nice. So that is the Audrey Hepburn MKAL Advent shawl. I hope this video answered any questions that you have about it. If you still have questions, of course, leave those questions in the comments down below and I'm happy to answer those. And like I mentioned, there's also a bunch of information on that pattern page in my website. So I hope you found this video helpful and informative. If you liked it, then go ahead and hit the thumbs up and feel free to subscribe to the Snickerdoodle Knits YouTube channel. I have knitting tutorial content for the tutorials that I include in my patterns, as well as a design overview video, just like this one for each of my pattern designs. So I hope to see you around. Happy knitting!